Friday, September the 21st, 1934, Teddy Andrews set out from this house to work on the night shift at Gresford Colliery. The colliery, 2 miles to the north of Wrexham, stood adjacent to Gresford village, a quiet, pretty village, best known at that time for its famous church bells and tower, one of the 7 wonders of Wales. Very few of the miners lived in Gresford. Most travelled from the Wrexham area and the outlying villages. The Gresford pit had always been feared and disliked because of the working conditions, but bad conditions and danger were not enough to deter the labour force of the hungry 30s, when there were 6 men for every job, and a collier's wage was around £2.25 a week. Particular parts of Gresford were notorious.
Very bad. The poor airways, and the men couldn't work unless they had to change about 2-3 times in a day. It was that bad that you could work in a pair of shorts and you could wring them out, and you could hear the perspiration inside of your shoe like that, as if it dropped in water. You could feel it like that, and that happened through the shift, you see. Well, it was very weakening and depressing for men, wasn't it, to work in?
As the men went down in the cage to start work, they were looking forward to the next day. There was a carnival in town, a big event for the men and their families. An even bigger event was the local football derby between Wrexham and Tranmere Rovers. Many of the Friday workers had stayed on below ground, working over so they could have Saturday off for the carnival or to see the match. But no one from the Dennis shaft ever got to see the match. At 2 a.m. on the Saturday morning, deep in Dennis workings, the fate of 265 men was sealed. Mrs. Williams, who lived in Pandy, about 2 miles away, remembered that night well.
We were in bed, and my dad came running upstairs in his clogs, and he was in his black, and we woke up. Anyway, he went into the room and he shouted, "Liz, Liz." He said, "There's been a terrible accident at the colliery." And then we could feel the place shaking. Anyway, we got up and we went downstairs, and he went and had his bath, and he went down to the pit head after. So we went back to bed, like we couldn't really do anything, could we?
That shaking felt by Mrs. Williams was an explosion that roared through Gresford pit. There were only 6 escaped that night. Teddy Andrews was one of them.
You know, a big bang there was, and there was and there was nothing happening. There was no machinery going anything. But we first thought it was a compressed air that had bursted, you see, a pipe bursted, you see. But they'd only about 6 or 8 weeks before that, they turned over to electric in our district in 29s. And there was no compressed air then, like, so that was the warnings we had that something seriously was wrong, you see. So we decided to go on the left up to the ladders, but there was a fella there. He was a deputy of doing shot firing business that night, like, and he said, "I wouldn't go yet if I were you. I wouldn't try." He said somebody was sure to come for us, but nobody was coming for us at all. But we heard a man groaning, someone groaning inside of this connecting road, you see. So we decided to try if we could get him. And I went inside of this highway and I could feel his legs, and they pulled him and me into to where the rest of the men were, see. And tried to revive him, but he died. Oh, when we went farther on, and there was falls, roof falls and different things that happened, like every indication that there'd been an explosion. And we met someone then coming to meet us to see what was wrong, you see, and it was then the manager and somebody had a canary in a cage. That's what they do, bring a canary down the street. And anyway, he says, "Which way did you come?" Andrew Williams, that was, then the manager. He said, "Which way did you come?" We told him up the airway and up the ladders. "You said you come the wrong way," he said. "Come the wrong way to be where we were." Well, any road, we hadn't gone the wrong way, but they told us to proceed towards the pit, and that's what we did. We crossed over there, but we never went in there ever, like. But when we got to there, I don't know what happened to me. I conked out, I did, and I never remember anything until I got into the ambulance room.
While the 6 struggled to escape, the rescue teams were already at work. At this point, the enormity of the disaster was not known. Crowds started to gather at the pit head, waiting for news of husbands, fathers, brothers, loved ones. How many were safe? How bad was it? How is the rescue going? Below ground, the rescue workers toiled in unbearable conditions, the fumes so thick that no one could survive without breathing apparatus. The first rescue team lost 3 men. Over 200 rescue workers in relays of 5 went down. Teddy Andrews, badly gassed, was taken home.
Well, when they brought him home at 5 o'clock, between 5 and half past in the morning, whatever. And as I said, it was the ambulance man knocked my sister up, and she came here and said he's all right when I screamed, because he said the night before he went out to work, he said, "I'm leaving something behind me and I don't know what it is." And he said, "It must be you." So I said, "Well, I'll come with you." And as soon as I heard that knock, I knew it was him. But my sister said, "He's all right, he's here." They brought him home in the ambulance, but they knocked her up first.
Teddy Andrews could stay at home. Concern for his workmates and the lack of news forced him back to the pit.
I said, "I'm going out for a bit." And I got out, see. I went back to Gresford. When I got on the surface, to the ambulance room, to the office, they were taking names and people that was going down to make rescue work or not, if they could do it, like. And each one that was going down, they were giving them, the container to fight fire or whatever it was. I never had one. I went down. I had a lamp and down I went. But when I got so far to by 29's district, that was a bit farther than what we came out like. Great big fall on everybody that had gone down before me, was working like Billy O and turning the stones off it. But there was some they couldn't handle, they were that hot. There was a fire there, see? And it was pretty evident that it had happened there, to my idea, like. But whether it had or not, nobody ever found out, like.
The rescue teams worked on with heroism born of despair. The fire was uncontrollable. As time went on, the danger to the rescuers increased. It was obvious that no one could survive. Painful decisions had to be made. The fire had to be smothered. The airways were blocked by building walls of sandbags. Other explosions were a constant danger. The rescue attempt was called off at 6 p.m. on Sunday. The rescue teams had toiled for 40 hours non-stop, to no effect. The shaft was sealed. 265 colliers were entombed. The cloud of mourning spread throughout Wales and beyond. Gresford was headline news. Memorial services were held at all the local churches. The obituary lists in the local paper were long and graphic. Messages of sympathy came from far and wide. In one night, 265 working men died. 200 women became widowed. 800 children became fatherless. And 1,600 men were thrown on the dole. The mine owners, United Westminster and Wrexham Collieries Limited, were fined £140 and made to pay £350 costs. What price coal